We're down a starter on Super Bowl Sunday. Simon is not here, and it's too bad because I know he was really looking forward to talking to our next guest, Simon, a diehard Chicago Bears fan. But Simon will be back with us in the coming weeks here. It is Alfieri and Trentadue with you till 9 o'clock. Super Bowl 57, just hours away. Chiefs and Eagles. And to break that down, we welcome in an honor to have this next guest. He coached in a Super Bowl as a 3-time Grey Cup champion head coach in the NFL and the CFL, one of the most brilliant football minds that I've ever been around, Coach Marc Trestman. Coach, what's going on?
Joey, good morning. It's all good. It's a little cloudy here in Southwest Florida, but there's nothing to complain about, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's warmed up here in Montreal, Coach. It's -2 Celsius today, but we had -35 last weekend, so I don't feel bad for you in that regard.
Yeah, no, but please, first of all, hello to everybody in my favorite city in North America, Montreal, Quebec. No doubt about it. Nothing's even close.
Those were some really, really, really good times that I had a front seat for watching you work here, and I think we've mentioned it all morning, Coach. But I think one of the great coaches in Montreal sports history. So thank you for everything that you did for the city. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. So my first question for you: you've been here, 2001. You were the offensive coordinator of the Raiders. And I'm curious, when you woke up Super Bowl Sunday morning, assuming you slept at all, what was that day like for you?
That's a great question. One of the things that I think is an interesting look at it is we did not have 2 weeks off before the game. So we had played the AFC Championship in Oakland on Sunday night, and it ended later, Eastern time, obviously. Mm-hmm. We went to the hotel right across the street. We had dinner as families. Mr. Davis talked a little bit. Our owner, he talked. We had to double up the time because we had no time to prepare. We had to leave on Tuesday morning or Monday night to go to San Diego to get to media day. So where you can really relax and enjoy, to me, one of the great victories in your coaching career is winning a conference championship game, because it takes you to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And we had an older team, and we had a short period of time to get ready. So there was little or no sleep, and honestly, it was absolute exhaustion by the end of the week. For the preparation, because there were so many other distractions with media every day, bus rides back and forth to practice. So we were exhausted. And that's the one thing I remember. We had an exhausted football team. We also had issues that other teams hadn't had. Our all-pro center, Barrett Robbins, had gotten lost in Tijuana. He was bipolar, mm-hmm. and kind of lost his mind, unfortunately. And we had a couple other issues that really distracted our football team. So there was never any enjoyment or time to keep it shorter, to relish the AFC Championship win, to get some rest, to spend the week really game planning, and then being able to have a weekend off and enjoy the process of just, the preparation, already everything pretty much done, and just some things to clean up going into the game. So I didn't get to experience personally, the joy of winning a championship game and the preparation that most coaches get to. But obviously, playing in the Super Bowl is one of the great privileges you can have. It was not a good day for us. It was not a good day for our team. Waking up, I didn't feel as much anticipation, as much as I was still exhausted from the week's preparation.
Wow. Yeah, you don't think of it that way. And I had forgotten that there wasn't the extra week back in the day. And so I know we have to wait a little while longer, and I know people are going to say what they say about the Pro Bowl, but based on what you just described to me, that extra week is key if you want to have a quality football game. Fair?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we did not play well. Tampa played better than us. I think we were the better team, but we certainly didn't play that way on that day.
He's Coach Marc Trestman joining us on the starters on TSN 690 with Alfieri and Trentadue. Okay, so I didn't want to open up old wounds, but I have an interesting stat for you that I hope you'll take in stride. I know you will. So you guys had the number one passing offense in the league that year, and the Buccaneers had the number one pass defense in the league. Fast forward a couple of years, or a few years ago, the Denver Broncos, led by Peyton Manning, coach, had the number one passing offense in the league. Seattle Seahawks had the number one passing defense in the league. Both times, it's the only two times in Super Bowl history that the number ones in those two stats went head-to-head. It's going to happen again here later on tonight, this evening. Both times there was a defensive Super Bowl MVP. The Super Bowls were relatively one-sided. I know you mentioned that you guys had some other challenges that certain teams didn't have, but why do you think that is? Why do you think it's defense advantage in that situation?
I don't know that it is or isn't, but you certainly hit on the key point of this game. Kansas City, the number one drop-back passing team in the league, and Philadelphia with 4 game records. So, when you look at 2 weeks ago, the AFC Championship game, and you watch what Kansas City did to try to allow Mahomes to have some time and protection, they chipped almost every drop-back pass to try to give Mahomes a chance to either step up and slide or extend the play so he could make one of his miraculous throws, awkward throws to make the plays. And that's exactly what happened. They were able to do just enough. And when they didn't chip, because Cincinnati doesn't have Philadelphia's defensive line, but they're exceptionally good. We saw what Mahomes got hit. He got sacked. But when he was able to, and that's when they didn't do any chipping. But when they did chipping and he was allowed an extra click to get outside or step up in the pocket, he was able to make some plays. So, they always say offense scores, defense wins championships, and I think you hit it right on the head. Is can Pacheco, can the Kansas City Chiefs get physical? Because I remember talking to Mike McCarthy about Tampa because they played in the same division when Mike was in Green Bay, and he said, run the ball, because they're rushing the passer to get to the quarterback and defending the run on the way there. And we were hard-headed, basically, and there were a lot of peripheral issues, as I already talked about. We were hard-headed and said, this is what got us here. We're not going to change. And losing our center protection calls were critically important. But I think you've hit it right on the head. If Mahomes can't set his feet or he can't get outside, or Kansas City can't at least get Pacheco to run the ball and establish some physicality, because he's a relentless and physical runner, so they can use some clock, the edge goes to Philadelphia in this game, not only because of defense, but the other side of it is they can run the ball. They have the two best lines in football, offensive and defensive lines in football, without question. And I don't know how many teams have gone into the Super Bowl with the best defensive line, arguably, and the best offensive line. So the X factor is Mahomes. He's the X factor in the game, and if his X factor doesn't come into play, it's going to be a close game, but Philadelphia's going to win.
Yeah, there might be some people listening who don't realize, Coach, that you're doing some writing. I try to read everything that you write because I'm a much smarter football fan after I read one of your articles, and there's some pictures, and it's really explained well. I know you had an article on the 33rd team yesterday. 5 things the Chiefs offense must do to move the ball against the Eagles defense. You can check that out at the33rdteam.com, and I've retweeted it onto my Twitter feed. So if you're listening and you want to check out Coach Trestman's breakdown, you can do that right there. It is the starters on TSN 690, Alfieri and Trentadue in. No Simon Salikas today. Dave, you want to ask Coach a question?
Yeah, hey, Coach. I want to get your take
Hi,
on...
Dave.
Hey, I want to get your take on the Super Bowl coaching duel between Nick Sirianni and Andy Reid. Sirianni was a receivers coach with the Chiefs, and after the 2012 season when Andy Reid took over, he was let go. I just want to get an NFL head coach's opinion on whether you think that's a motivating factor, and also just how you see this coaching battle play out tonight.
Yeah, first of all, the game is never about the coaches, but it's all about the coaches, right? Sirianni coaches differently than Andy Reid. Obviously, it's his first Super Bowl, and he's really an infant in the coaching profession. But what he's done is He's relied on Howie Roseman to put the locker room together, and he's delegated all the responsibility to his coaches, to Gannon, and to his offensive coordinator. And his job is to manage the game, and he's managing with people upstairs in analytics. So, and he's done a great job of doing that, of making the three coordinators accountable for their sides of the ball. He's brought the team together. They have tremendous leadership with Hurts and Kelsey, and I'm sure others. Kelsey and Hurts are the key components, but they have great character in their locker room. Where Andy Reid, he's heavily involved in game planning, play calling, and what is going on offensively, and then he's leaving, his coordinators on defense and special teams to do their job. So they're coaching the team differently. Obviously, Andy's experience, is a factor certainly. But at the end of the day, it's the players' game. It's a quarterback game. Both quarterbacks are going to have to take care of the football, create some plays along the way, and their offensive lines are going to have to protect them, because when quarterbacks get hit early, bad things can happen down the road. So, we'll see what happens.
Which injury concerns you more going into this game, Coach? I know we don't have all the details of how these recoveries are going, but is it the Mahomes high ankle or the Hurts throwing shoulder injury?
I haven't seen a differentiation. Hurts has practiced for the last 2 weeks, and Mahomes has practiced for the last 2 weeks. So, if Mahomes re-injures it, that could be a problem. He could cut the wrong way or get hit and it go the wrong way here. But, these are courageous, tough guys. They're going to be there to play at the highest level. Obviously, if Mahomes couldn't play, that would directly be a huge hit, because, as I said already, Hurts can run the ball to Miles Sanders and others, and they can use the clock. And what they need to do is have the ball for 34 minutes. But the other side of it is, Mahomes only needs about 20 minutes or 25 minutes, and he could put 4 scores up. So it's a tasty game. It's going to be really exciting. Hurts' Philadelphia being able to run the football is going to be a critical factor to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. And the offensive line of Kansas City has got to do a heck of a job with their protection plan to keep Mahomes standing and give him time to do his magic, which is like no other quarterback has ever been able to do.
Bit of a silly question here, but I talk about this with football fans a lot. As someone who has coached in the Super Bowl, is the long halftime show a factor at all?
Well, there's a couple things. It's not as much the halftime as it is the start of the game. You're standing on the sidelines for 20 or 25 minutes between the national anthem and all the things that go on, and that's the most difficult. And specifically when we played in San Diego, we had the sun. It was extremely warm in the 80 Fahrenheit range. I don't know if I do some quick calculation, it was over 20 degrees Celsius. So, that was really tough on us to stand in the sun for 20, 25 minutes and then get the game started. So it's the energy you waste prior to the game that's probably a bigger factor than the halftime.
Do you remember who the halftime performance was in 2003?
I do not know.
Shania Twain.
I do not know.
Yeah, no kidding.
What's that?
Shania Twain.
Shania Twain. So she was a halftime there, and she was halftime for our 2017, I believe, Grey Cup.
That's right.
As well. But just a funny story. I'm standing there on the sideline with 4 future Hall of Famers: Charles Woodson, Jerry Rice, Tim Brown, and then I look up, and my daughters, who were young, probably 11, 12, they're up in the stand. I turn around, they're hanging out with Adam Sandler, having the best time of their life, and I'm sick to my stomach, ready for this game to start.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's a nice little meet and greet there. But I mean, it's pretty cool that they got to experience that, though, and they got to experience a lot of cool things, I'm sure.
They did. They were very lucky. They grew up in locker rooms, got to travel on a wide body jet to Super Bowl with the players and their families. So they were very privileged, and as a coach, it was always a privilege, no matter where I was coaching, to be part of a team.
It's great to hear your voice, Coach, and I hope to see you in Montreal for a game this summer. Is that possible?
It's always possible. I love it. Try to make one trip a year up there. So, I hope things go well, for the Alouettes, and things get going in the right direction, because there's no better football city. You can talk about, Saskatchewan, but when things are going in Montreal, there's nothing like, being on the mountain on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, whatever it might be, and watching a football game.
Those parades were wild, weren't they, Coach? I got to miss school, so I appreciate you winning for me.
I can still remember you and your dad at the top of the steps when I'd walk in or leave the stadium. Those are unforgettable moments, and I'm so proud of you and what you're accomplishing now in your broadcast career.
I appreciate it, and I just want you to know that you're a big part of that. You giving me the time of day, and not more than the time of day. I mean, you literally stopped and yapped win, lose, or draw with me after every game, and it really stuck with me, and it really took my fandom and my love and appreciation for the game of football to another level. So you have a lot to do with that. I really appreciate it. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on the show, and dinner on me if you come to Montreal, okay?
I'll be careful what you ask for there.
Listen, I'm willing.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Dave.
All right.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure to be with you today, and hello to everybody in Montreal.
Thank you very much. That's head coach Marc Trestman.